Hi everyone, I'm Dominic. In this video, I will continue to analyze the battle between Red Death and Screaming Death. Who would win? Not introduced anymore, let them fight.
Screaming Death. Information. Class Boulder. Size Gigantic. 50 feet. 15 meters long. Weight 2,500 pounds. 1,133 kilograms. Wingspan 10 feet. 3 meters. Statistics. Attack 16. Speed 8. Armor 20. Firepower 10. Shot limit 2 rounds of shots. Venom 10. Jaw strength 11. Stealth 14. Red Death. Information. Class Stalker. Size Gigantic. 400 feet. 122 meters long. Weight 22,000 pounds. 10 tons. Wingspan 550 feet. 168 meters. Statistic. Attack 28. Speed 7. Armor 30. Firepower 27. Shot limit 9. Venom 0. Jaw strength 22. Stealth 2. The official measurements given by DreamWorks Animation do not appear to be realistic when considering the relative sizes the viewer sees within the TV series. Based on images of the Screaming Death alongside other known dragons in the series, such as Midler, this dragon should be 365 feet, 111.2 meters long, and not only 15.2 meters. Accordingly, its power stars would be wrong as well, meaning the Screaming Death stars wouldn't be much lower than I've just mentioned. According to my estimate, Screaming Death is half the size of Red Death. However, the Red Death in the movie is already in Titan Wing form, which is its ultimate form, while Screaming Death is not yet in Titan Wing state and is still growing up. While comparing the two dragons in the film seems unjustified, but let's have a look at what they show in the movie. Firepower. Red Death's methane-based flame jets are enormous and are powerful enough to take down an entire fleet of Viking ships in just one breath. The blazing torrents can create huge amounts of black smoke, which also makes them resemble volcanic pyroclastic flows. They eject the fire in giant, long-lasting, explosive streams. The Screaming Death shoots large, explosive balls of fire. At least a dozen fireballs can be launched in rapid succession. Thus, Red Death has much stronger firepower than Screaming. Armor. The body of a Red Death is heavily armored with dense scales, horns, and a coral-like frill, enabling the titanic beast to perforate, pierce, as well as demolish enormous rock cliffs of the volcano and smaller mountains. Their thick height and sheer size allow them to overcome catapult barrages, several of the Night Fury's plasma blasts, and various physical blows from the rest of the riders near unscathed. However, the plasma blast of a Night Fury can punch holes through the wing membranes of a Red Death rather easily. The Screaming Death is extremely durable. It was able to take attacks from Toothless, Midler, Stormfly, Buff, and Bulge, several wild Chronicles, and several wild Netters with little visible damage. It also has the toughest and strongest skin of all dragons. Only the Scrogeon's hot water blast can create enough heat to rip the scales off the Screaming Death. Thus, Screaming Death has a better defense than Red Death. Strength and combat. Red Death have immense strength, capable of lifting Viking ships in its mouth and then crushing them with one powerful bite, and breaking through the volcano and numerous sea stacks of Dragon's Islands effortlessly. Screaming Death can effortlessly crash through sea stacks and tunnel through rocks, causing whole islands to sink. The Screaming Death utilizes its immense size and weight to crash onto opponents, so in terms of ability to headbutt stone, Screaming will have the upper hand. Endurance and stamina. Not only with brutal, destructive power, but the Queen of Dragons has also been shown to have incredible stamina in flight despite its tremendous size, being able to keep up with Toothless for long amounts of time. This gigantic dragon can take many attacks from other dragons, boulders from a catapult, stoics strength from throwing a wooden light spear, getting hit in the eyes by a Snortlout, Toothless Plasma Blast attacks and being able to take the damage from crashing into the sea stacks, seemingly suffering little to no damage. Magma-proof skin. Red Deaths also have magma-proof skin, since one was seen living in the corona of magma chamber of a volcano and suffer no ill effects after continuous and prolonged periods in direct contact with the boiling magma. Tail bludgeon. Red Deaths possess a long tail that ends in a round formation studded with sharp spikes, enabling them to use it as a mace or bludgeon to swing against targets such as rock formations or opponents, causing devastating damage. However, the Red Death seen in the film was not seen actively using it during its confrontation with Hiccup and the Dragon Riders, possible because there were no opportunities to use it. Deafening Scream. The Screaming Death can use a powerful sonic roar that negatively affects the flight of other dragons, causing disorientation and distraction. It also seems to use this summon Whispering Death to its aid. Spine Shot. The Screaming Death is able to shoot large spines from any part of its body, much like Whispering Death. Alpha Control. The Screaming Death is capable of controlling all the dragons to a certain degree. The group of dragons under the Screaming Death's command are known as Exiles, dragons that follow the giant dragon after it destroyed the islands. However, Screaming Deaths can be controlled by larger alpha dragons, such as the Bee Wildebeest. Red Deaths are an alpha species and are capable of enforcing smaller dragons to obey, even against their wills. Like bees, the queen hosts the vocal homing signals that reach miles away to call upon minions. The Red Deaths at the end of How to Train a Dragon appear unable to stop the rider's dragons from attacking it, nor call upon other dragons for help. Unlike the Bee Wildebeest and kinder individuals, this Red Death also harnessed fear to enslave other dragons. Single stance from its 6 eyes was enough to diminish smaller dragon self-possession completely. As such, it is unknown if Red Death can control Screaming Death. Personally, I think no. Night Fury was also out of Red Death's control, so it is likely that the Screaming Death was able to fight back. Agility and speed. Red Deaths are gigantic and as a result are slower compared to other dragons. However, it can swing its tail or swing its head to smash other dragons or objects. Even so, the Red Death showed no lack of speed during flight, as it was fast enough to catch up with Toothless in the air. However, it's quite possible that Toothless only showed down to make the Red Death stay close, or that Toothless' tail fin mechanism wasn't allowing the Night Fury to fly at maximum speed at the time. The Screaming Death is much faster than the Whispering Death, to the point they can even catch up with an average flying Night Fury while in flight. On the ground, it slithers at a much slower pace, like most other Whispering Deaths. Younger Screaming Deaths demonstrated similar agility to that of Whispering Deaths. As they grow, however, they seem to lose a great deal of agility, mostly due to their massive sizes. Okay, now let's analyze which one has more advantages. Though Screaming Death can summon Whispering to aid in combat, however, I will assume this is a one-on-one match for fairness. Red Death has the advantages of size and strength as well as firepower. Screaming Death has the advantages of armor, the ability to attack physically with the head, and agility. In addition, Screaming can hide underground and then suddenly rush up to attack Red Death. However, Red Death has up to 6 eyes, which leaves it with no blind spots. Red Deaths primarily use their enlarged nostrils that slightly resemble those of the deadly Nadders, and hearing to track and hunt down their prey. I think Red Death's firepower is strong but will not be enough to damage Screaming's armor in just one shot, although it has a shot limit of up to 9 compared to Screaming's with only 2 rounds. On the contrary, Screaming's firepower was not enough to do harm to the Red Death. At this point, they are forced to use their physical powers to attack each other. Screaming can use its head to sink many islands in a short time, so it can use its head and ram continuously until the Red Death gets tired. But maybe Red Death won't just stand still. Red can also use the club tail to hit Screaming's face. Red can also use sharp teeth to bite Screaming, and vice versa. In fact, both have very strong and dangerous jaws. At this point, I can conclude that Red Death's win rate will be higher at 60% and Screaming Death's win rate is 40%. If Screaming is marked, he can download the movie How to Train Your Dragon. After watching, he will know Red Death's weakness is in his stomach. Then he can choose a chance and shoots Red Death in the mouth and finishes the opponent. So the analysis of the battle between two monsters is over. If you find it good, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye!